You're tuning in because you want to get smart fast. You want the core insights without all the extra fluff, right?
Exactly.
So today, we're diving straight into a question that's, well, it's probably crossed your mind if you've been in a lecture or, even a meeting,
Mhm.
typing your notes or handwriting them, which one actually helps you learn better?
It seems like it should be straightforward, doesn't it? But the research, it actually reveals some really interesting layers here. We've got a fascinating piece of work to unpack today.
Yeah, exactly. We're looking at a pretty comprehensive study. It's a meta-analysis,
Right.
which is kind of like a super study. It pulls together findings from lots of other research.
Yeah, aggregates everything.
This one was published in the Educational Psychology Review just last July, actually.
Pretty recent then.
Yeah. It's called Typed versus Handwritten Lecture Notes and College Student Achievement. And it's by Abraham E. Flanagan and a team of researchers.
And this kind of study, this meta-analysis, it's powerful because it's not just one experiment in isolation.
Right.
It combines results from, get this, 24 different studies
Wow.
across 21 articles, and all of them were specifically comparing typed versus handwritten notes among college students.
Okay, so our goal for this deep dive for you listening is to basically pull out the key findings from all that research and see what it really tells us about, how we can learn and remember things most effectively.
Yeah.
Now, I think like a lot of us just assume typing has got to be better.
It feels that way.
Is quicker,
Yeah.
right? You can get so much more down on the page or screen, I guess. It just seems like the obvious choice now.
That's totally the natural inclination.
Yeah,
I mean, on the surface, it just makes sense. You can definitely type way more words per minute than you can write by hand.
for sure.
But, and this is the kicker, what this meta-analysis really uncovers is that when you look at actual learning, like academic success,
Yeah.
the picture is, well, it's more nuanced than just how many words you manage to capture.
Okay, let's get right to it then. The core finding. When they looked at overall academic achievement, grades, test scores, that kind of thing, what did they find? Did all that extra typing help?
Well, this is where it gets really interesting. The overall trend actually pointed the other way.
Really?
Yeah. When they combined all those studies, the researchers found a statistically significant indication that taking and reviewing handwritten notes that led to higher academic achievement compared to typing.
Wait a second. So hold on. The actual physical act of writing stuff down, that translates to better grades. That feels kind of surprising, honestly, given how much we rely on keyboards for everything.
It does seem counterintuitive, doesn't
It
it?
is.
Especially now. But they put numbers to it. They calculated something called a Hedges G effect size.
Okay.
Think of that as just like a standard way scientists measure how big the difference is between the two methods.
Right.
In this case, it was 0.248. And the results were very statistically significant. The p-value was less than 0.0001.
Which means, like, it's super low chance it's just random.
Exactly. That super low p-value means we can be pretty confident there's a real effect happening here. It's not just a statistical fluke.
Okay, so what does that number 0.248 actually mean, like, practically, for someone trying to learn?
Well, a positive effect size like that suggests basically a tendency for one method handwriting, in this case to be linked with a better outcome, which here is higher achievement. Now, 0.248 might not sound like a massive number on its own, but in education research where you're dealing with lots of people and variables, it's actually a meaningful, consistent advantage. It suggests a real, maybe moderate, but definitely real benefit to handwriting.
And didn't they also put that in terms of, like, expected outcomes, something about predicting who gets better grades?
They did, yeah. They used a concept to kind of illustrate the practical side. So imagine you have two groups of similar students, right? Same lectures.
Right.
Based on this analysis, you'd actually expect to see a higher percentage of the students who took handwritten notes getting better course grades compared to the students who typed their notes.
That's pretty compelling for picking up a pen again.
It is.
But, okay, we can't ignore that feeling, that sensation that you just get so much more down when you type. Did the meta-analysis look at just the sheer volume, like how many notes people took?
It did, yes.
Yeah.
And this is where that common idea, that assumption about typing being efficient for volume, well, that actually holds up in the research.
Ah, okay.
The meta-analysis confirmed it. Typing notes does lead to a greater quantity of notes being taken.
And they had a number for that too, right? An effect size?
You did. The Hedges day for just note-taking volume was much larger. It was 0.919.
Whoa, that's big.
Huge difference, yeah. And also very statistically significant, that same low p-value. So the effect size for just how much you write down
Hmm.
is way bigger than the effect size for achievement.
Okay, right. So there's the really interesting tension, isn't it?
Exactly.
You can
Right.
type a lot more faster,
Hmm.
but you seem to actually learn better when you write less by hand. Which, I mean, that just begs the question, why? What's going on there? Why would putting pen to paper be, more helpful for actually understanding and remembering stuff?
That is the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
right? And while this specific meta-analysis focuses mostly on the outcomes, the achievement, the volume, rather than digging super deep into the cognitive processes,
Right. It's looking at the what, not necessarily the how.
precisely. But based on the overall pattern they saw, the researchers do draw a pretty significant conclusion. They suggest that handwritten notes seem to be more effective, more useful for actually studying and committing information to memory compared to typed notes.
And that's really the goal, isn't it? When you take notes, it's not just to have a record, it's to actually get it in there.
Yeah, to internalize it.
Those aha moments, they come from that deeper level of thinking about it.
So, okay, the meta-analysis doesn't dive into the brain science maybe,
Mm.
but what could be some reasons? Why might handwriting lead to this deeper processing?
Well, we have to be a bit careful not to go too far beyond this study.
Sure. But we can think about how the acts themselves differ, right? Typing versus writing. And some research cited in their paper points to this too, suggests that when you handwrite, you're often kind of forced to be more selective.
Because you can't keep up.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
just can't write as fast as someone talks. So you naturally have to listen, digest it, and then summarize the key points, usually in your own words.
Ah, okay.
Whereas typing, it often allows for, almost encourages verbatim transcription, just typing what you hear without necessarily engaging that same level of active cognitive processing.
Right, you're filtering and synthesizing on the fly with handwriting.
Could be that process of summarizing, rephrasing as you write by hand.
Yeah.
Maybe that's creating stronger connections in your brain, making it easier to recall later.
That makes a lot of intuitive sense. You're not just a human recording device when you handwrite. You're actively wrestling with the material as it comes in.
Hmm.
Now, it's important you said this meta-analysis focused specifically on college students, right, and
Yeah.
lecture settings. Is that context key here?
Oh, absolutely. That's crucial. The conclusions drawn here are specific to that context. College students learning in a lecture environment.
So we shouldn't just assume this applies everywhere, like brainstorming or taking quick notes in a meeting.
Exactly. It's really important not to overgeneralize. The structure, the pace of a typical lecture, those are likely big factors influencing these results. It might be different in other situations.
And it's interesting, too, you mentioned the researchers pointed out how much research comparing typing and handwriting has exploded in the last decade or so.
It really has.
That says something about how relevant this question is, right, in our super digital world, especially in education.
It certainly does. It reflects a real ongoing interest and maybe some anxiety
Yeah.
about how technology is impacting learning.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they could pull from 24 studies just shows how much people are looking into this specific question.
You mentioned their reference list earlier. Sounded like they were building on quite a bit of previous work. Were there, common themes or types of studies popping up in those citations?
Oh yeah, definitely. Looking through their references, you really see a whole field built around note-taking. There were obviously several articles doing direct comparisons, computer versus longhand.
Mm-hmm.
Some even looked specifically at how reviewing those different types of notes later affected learning. Others focused just on using laptops in lectures, how that impacted the notes themselves and student achievement.
So this meta-analysis isn't just some random finding. It's fitting into a larger conversation happening among researchers.
Precisely. And it also builds on some earlier meta-analyses that looked at note-taking strategies more broadly.
Okay.
And beyond those direct comparisons, they also cited research that tries to get into the cognitive stuff, memory processes, how different note methods might interact with how our brains work.
Right.
And also, maybe not surprising today,
Mhm.
several articles they cited looked at digital distractions in the classroom.
Yeah. The temptation to multitask.
Exactly. How having that laptop open can lead to checking email, browsing the web, stuff that obviously isn't learning
Yeah.
and could definitely hinder things.
Yeah.
That's a factor with digital notes that just isn't there with pen and paper.
Right. Good point. It's not just the tool. It's the whole environment that comes with the tool sometime.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's bring it all together then. For everyone listening, what's the main sort of takeaway message from this deep dive into this meta-analysis on typing versus handwriting notes?
I think the core finding, the headline, is this. While Yes, using a keyboard might feel more efficient for capturing a ton of information during a lecture.
Yeah, the volume part.
Right. But the evidence, when you combine all these studies, strongly indicates that actively engaging in the process of handwriting your notes tends to lead to better understanding of the material,
Hmm.
stronger memory for that information, and ultimately higher academic achievement for college students in those settings.
Yeah, that's a really important point to chew on,
Ah,
especially for students trying to figure out the best way to learn. It's so easy, almost automatic, to just flip open the laptop and start typing. But it seems there's a real cognitive benefit to slowing down, engaging physically with pen and paper.
it really makes you pause and think about your priorities when you're taking notes, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like, is the main goal just to create a massive transcript of everything said? Or is the goal to actually engage with the ideas in a way that helps you truly learn and remember them later on?
absolutely. It makes you reflect on your own habits. Do I just automatically reach for a device, or have I ever actually thought about the potential upsides of handwriting, even if it feels slower?
Which kind of leads to a really interesting final thought maybe for you to consider.
Okay.
Given these findings, what are the broader implications? How should we approach learning, processing information in this world that's just getting more and more digital? Is there maybe a way to strategically combine the methods?
Like get the benefits of both.
Perhaps, yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe using handwriting for that initial deeper processing during a lecture, but then maybe organizing or expanding on those notes digitally later for searchability or sharing. It's
Interesting.
definitely something worth thinking about as we all keep navigating, the changing landscape of education and technology.